in order to teach ourselves a lesson about life.
Fascinating. All right, let's do it. First-time caller line, you're on the air with Professor Leo Sprinkle. Hi.
Hi.
Hi there. Where are you?
I'm from New Jersey.
New Jersey, okay.
Yes, and I think your programs are wonderful, Mr. Bell.
Thank you.
And I also was very interested in your, I'm getting a feedback. Are you hearing that?
No.
Okay. I was also interested in your guest tonight. He's wonderful. I think we're probably around the same age. And I've had experience that have been what is classified as paranormal all my life. And I, too, turned into studying it and then became a psychotherapist and couldn't talk about it because I was afraid of losing my job. So I really identified with what he said. You know, about, you know, if you say anything, they say, oh, you lose your credibility.
How old are you, ma'am?
I'm 69.
69.
I'm retired now. That's why I can talk about it.
How about you, doctor?
I'll be 70 in August.
Well, see that?
So we are 69.
Close call. Close call.
Right.
So,
and,
good for you that you can talk about it.
Yes. But I had something that Ardell has spoken about many times, and that is about space travel, and you can't do it because if we have space travel, how are we going to get there, and so forth and so on. And at one time I had a poltergeist. That's not important. But the experiences that I had were things disappearing and then coming back. And I went to UCLA and sought help from a Dr. Annis, who was with Dr. Thelma Moss at that time. That was in 1972.
And they examined you?
Yes. And he said I was a sensitive. And I said, well, how do I get rid of this? And he said, it's a gift. And I said, I call it a curse. And he said, no, you should learn how to get more of it, but also learn to direct your energy someplace else.
That's actually kind of an interesting question. A lot of people regard any sensitive ability they have more as a curse than as a blessing. What would you say to them, Doctor?
Oh, you're talking to me.
Sure.
I would say treat it as a curse as long as that's
the way you feel about it?
The way you feel about it, but as soon as you're ready to relieve yourself of the curse, then see it as a blessing and work with it. And that's the same way whether it's a UFO experience, whether it's an out-of-body experience, whether it's premonitions or whatever. For example, I worked with a nurse who would get impressions about when a patient was going to die, and she didn't know whether to hold it back or blurt it out. And so she was accused of being a witch and blah, blah, blah. Well, I suggested to her that she could talk with the relatives and say, you know, I had a dream. If you called it a dream instead of a vision, it's easier for people to accept. And she said, I had a dream that your uncle was not doing well. Maybe you want to stop by and see him. And they'd stop by that weekend and see him, and then he'd die. And they'd say, oh, thank you so much. And so she learned how to present the information in a way that was meaningful to the relatives rather than was threatening or
Sure. Oh, no, sure. No, that makes all the sense in the world. And I suppose that would be called a wise use.
And then she felt better about herself that she was able to help people rather than be feared by them.
I've talked to people, Doctor, some of the famous cases of near-death experiences, for example, who, following the near-death experience, they had a sudden floodgate opening of psychic ability, which faded then over years as they continued to live on, but was extremely strong, so strong after the near-death experience that it was like a cacophony of voices flooding into their brain.
Yes. A lot of people have described, if they fell from a ladder, hit their head, or had a serious illness of some kind, near-death experience, a variety of ways when people are kind of propelled into the next level of awareness, and that can be frightening, just like a kid who is taken out of the country and put into a large campus university. It's frightening, but also it can be exciting if people are able to retain their sense of self and then to use some common sense as well as courage in how to deal with this new information.
Well, that's asking a lot for the average person, though, isn't it?
Oh, yes.
You know, if the average person is thrust into this kind of situation, they probably question their sanity and a lot of other really nasty things.
Oh, I've had so many people say to me, do you think these experiences happen? And I said, well, I don't know whether it's true for you, but other people have these kind of experiences. Oh, they said, I wish you'd tell me I'm crazy because it'd be easier to deal with it than to have to learn how to be responsible and be more mature in dealing with it. So, yeah, the choice to go crazy is a difficult one for many people, and some people choose to go crazy.
Wildcard line, you're on the air with Professor Sprinkle. I'm Art Bell. Hi.
Good evening, Art. Good evening, Doctor.
You're going to have to yell at us a little. You're not too loud. Where are you?
Is that better?
Better, yes.
Hi, this is William from Portland calling.
Yes, sir.
And I had a comment for you, Art, and then a question for the doctor.
Sure.
This is just my gut feeling, but I was thinking about your dreams.
Yes.
And I think that it's a result of your laying in the pyramid, long-term effect. Maybe it's opening up your psychic abilities. But anyway, Doctor, good evening to you, sir.
That, by the way, sir, is called a wag, and that's a wild-ass guess.
Doctor, I just wondered, you may not be familiar with this case, but if so, could you comment on the Dr. Reed case and the alien in the freezer? And I'll listen off the air, Art. Thank you.
He probably doesn't even know about that.
I've heard about it. I've read about it, and I don't have any personal acquaintance with either Dr. Reed or people who know him, so the only thing I can add is that from what I've read from people, it sounds like some interesting things going on, and I wish that I could read an article or a book or whatever that would give more details. So thanks.
I'll tell you this about it. It's an incredible case with incredibly clear photography, and what I've noticed about evidence, photographic evidence, Doctor, is that people are happy when they can say, oh, look at that fuzzy, at the edge of your imagination thing. But if it's extremely clear, and it's an obviously a crystal clear photograph of an alien or a craft or whatever it is, then people get angry. And they say, oh, what a fraud, and they really get angry.
Yes.
And that's the case in the Dr. Reed case.
Interesting.
East of the Rockies, you're on the air with Professor Sprinkle. Hi. Hello.
Good evening, Art. How are you doing this evening?
Just fine. Where are you?
Listen, I'm Jeff Waller. I'm calling out of Dallas, Big 570.
Okay, Jeff.
Hey, listen, I have a comment for you and a question for Dr. Sprinkle.
All right.
Listen, my dad was a colonel in the Air Force, retired out of Bergstrom Air Force Base. And he had some tours of duty. He was at the Pentagon, Langley, Montgomery, at the Air War College, and retired out of Bergstrom.
Yes.
And my comment is, a couple of times, I actually had an occasion to speak with him on occasion. Actually, only one time. He actually divulged this information to me. But in one occasion, he was, as a fighter pilot instructor, he was observing his squadron on the deck out of Nevada, Nellis Air Force Base, I believe. And he observed an object come upon his wingtip. And these are things he told me, and only after I asked him, after knowledge of, I actually had to ask him under these questions. He told me that he saw these things come upon his wingtip one time. And it followed him for 5 to 7 minutes. He was on the deck in a T-33. This thing took off at a 45-degree angle, accelerated at a speed that he estimated in excess of 10,000 miles an hour, made a right angle turn in the atmosphere at that rate of speed. Of course, he did everything he could, as he told me, to keep him flying into a mountain, and landed and went immediately to ops. He told me he was debriefed. He made no bones about it, the fact that they recorded the information. It was an instructional flight, and all the information was sent on to the powers that be. And on another occasion after this, of course, I was born in 60, and this was late 50s, and I was born in 60s, and he was on at the Pentagon, and he had an occasion to get to know one of the women in Project Blue Book at the Pentagon, at the actual office in the Pentagon, which was quite alarming to understand that there were only 5 or 8 or 9 people involved in that actual project directly.
Yes.
And one of the people was a woman who was the secretary. And he kind of humorously took her out on occasion and on occasion got her kind of tipsy at the officers' club. And the only time I ever saw my dad's goosebumps raise on his arms was when he told me what she said after she got a little bit drunk. And she told him, "Bob, all I do is shred papers, and you would freak out if I told you what I read and shred."
Oh, man.
Isn't that kind of interesting?
Yes, it's really interesting. I think most of us now firmly believe Blue Book was a total disinformation